Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about everything you need to know heading into TBC and the TBC Prepatch coming up shortly. Today we're going to be covering how raiding changes in Prepatch, the new consumable rules, the PvP prep and the honor farming, trade skills like jewel crafting, and a bunch of hidden mechanical changes including weapon skill, enchants, and even how some classic items proc differently at level 70 but are still potent. This one took a ton of research, so if it helps you out, don't forget to drop a like, share it with your guild, and subscribe for more TBC content. So first off, let's start with raiding in the pre-patch. Because yes, you can still raid during the pre-patch, but the mindset's a little bit different this time. Pre-patch raiding isn't about sweating over parses or min-maxing, it's about getting used to your new abilities and talents. And if we only have a limited time of 2 weeks, we'll all be leveling to 70 and all our rotations mostly change anyways. If you're doing 5 to 10% DPS or healing less in Naxxramas, no one cares. This is the time to experiment and not stress. One of the best expansions is coming. The biggest change you'll notice right away is consumables. For pre-patch, you could stack one consumable per stat. Strength, stamina, attack power, you name it. That's gone now. Instead, everything falls into these new categories. A battle elixir, which is a offensive stat, a guardian elixir, which is the defensive stat, a food buff, and optional buffs like scrolls, scroll of strength 4 and scroll of agility 4. And we also still have our Valentine's Day chocolates. But flasks in this iteration are different. They count as both battle and guardian. So, if you use a flask, that's your full elixir slot. You can't double dip anymore. Scrolls are their own category and still stack with everything, but they're rare open world drops. The min-maxers and people that have made smart investments will understand that even the stat scroll 4s are 3 stat difference from the stat scroll 5s. They will have been grabbing the strength and agility scroll 4s from basically the beginning of phase 3 onwards throughout Classic WoW. I know a lot of my friends that already have 400 to 500 each of each scroll, because guess what? 3 main stat difference and the fact that they were 80 silver is going to make their money go so much further than when we get into TBC and these strength scroll 4s are 15 gold, and potentially the strength scroll 5s, when we get our hands on them, are going to be ungodly into the 20 plus gold, becoming the new mongoose, if you will, for everyone. But don't expect everyone to use them regularly. Now, something that happens with your Valentine's Day and your chocolate buffs, they do stack with everything, but they'll start expiring the moment pre-patch hits, even if you're logged out. That's right. That means they are gone in real time. No longer can you just put them on a bank alt and just log off, and that holds them permanently at their duration time. You can delay their expiration by opening the gift boxes just before they expire, and this is how kind of the math is going to work out. So the gift of adoration has about 7 days. Then there is 10 days for the actual box of chocolates, and then 10 more for something like a buff of like the Dark Desire, the hit food buff. So it's roughly going to be anywhere, if you're smart, if you're lucky, you time it roughly around 27 days. And depending on how long our pre-patch is going to be, this may be gone by the first week to the second week of TBC. But Valentine's Day should be right around the corner. But again, these will be in real time come then. So those food buffs won't be out as long like they were in Classic the whole time. Now let's talk about some utility potions. Some of these got hit with nerfs. So for example, the limited vulnerability potion no longer makes you immune. They just reduce incoming physical damage by 120. Greater protection potions now only last 2 minutes instead of lasting an hour and having a 2-minute cooldown. And Juju Chill is now a guardian elixir, so it won't stack with things like Zanza buffs anymore. So for your raiding setup, it's super simple now. Pick one battle elixir, one guardian elixir, and your preferred food. So for example, as a warlock, you would pick something like Flask of Supreme Power and like a Nightfin soup. As a rogue, I'd probably still use Elixir of Mongoose, and same thing with a warrior. I'd probably still use Elixir of Mongoose. Scrolls and Valentine's buffs, those are both bonuses. if you have them, though. But I would probably save them for actual TBC when they matter a little bit more. Now that you have your consumables, let's talk about talents. Prepatch brings in the TBC talent trees. So this is your time to experiment. There is a ton of viable builds, and honestly, since everything changes at 70, you don't need to chase the perfect builds or the perfect spec. I know a lot of rogues that are actually going to be going mutilate, even though it's not the top DPS, and it actually performs 5 anywhere up to 15% less. Myself, if I get my hands on the Black Book just before TBC Prepatch, I myself will be playing the Demonology build with the Felguard, just because it's a lot more fun, and it's literally only 2 buttons. You basically only spam, or 3 buttons technically. You put your curse up, you would spam Immolate on your targets, and then just spam Shadow Bolt. It's fun because the pet does a crazy amount of damage. Now, if Prepatch only lasts roughly 2 weeks like it did last time, there's a few things that you want to focus on. One is to farm honor and marks for gear. And 2 is getting your trade skills ready, especially jewel crafting. Knocking out jewel crafting now before when it's too late in the middle of the expansion and everything's jacked up because we're not in the old world is going to be essential. So for PvP, for example, if you're like me and you've just finished a character and you're thinking, oh, I'll get it to rank 14, there's no point. Just stop now. It takes weeks and hours upon hours of time. I recently have been talking to one of my friends who's only doing 9k honor per hour. Do you know how much honor it takes to actually hit rank 14 before pre-patch? An ungodly amount. If you only have 1 to 2 weeks left, sure, go for that title. But honestly, it's not worth it. You can spend your time literally doing anything else and it's more worth your value. Hell, you could even not even play the game for a couple weeks and get a break and touch some grass. That might be a little bit more valuable mentally. Battlegrounds will be your best friend in pre-patch. You can farm honor and marks to buy the rank 14 gear, which is perfect for filling missing raid slots or just gearing your alts. And if I remember correctly, in the beginning, the honor was busted. People were able to get 75,000 honor like that right away, basically. But someone on the forums decided to, actually, and then it got fixed. So if you missed out on the first 2 days or the first day of honor, they ended up fixing that. And there was also people that were trying to cheese the battleground marks and basically preloading them into their mailbox so that way that they could have them. How it works out is technically right now, we're allowed to have 20 of each mark, but in pre-patch, we go to having a honor cap of 75,000 and 100 marks per battleground. And that means we would be able to stack 100 AB marks, 100 AV marks, 100 War Song Gulch marks, because those are the 3 that we have available for us. Now, if you're wondering how much, Mincy, is it going to be for me to get a full set of high warlord gear on one of my brand new alts? Well, it's really not that bad. A full set in weapons is going to cost you roughly around 103,000 honor total. For to get the one-handed weapons, it would be 19,125 honor plus 20 AB marks for each weapon. If you were to get a two-handed weapon, it would be 38,250 honor and 40 AV marks. The chest is 13,770 honor with 30 AB marks. The legs are looking at 13,000 honor and 30 Warsong Gulch marks. The helmet is about 13,000 honor and 30 AB marks. The shoulders are 8,415 honor and 20 AB marks. The hands are 8,415 and 20 AV marks. And the boots are 8,415 honor and 20 AB marks. Just the armor alone will cost you 65,025 honor points, 70 AB marks, 50 AV marks, and 30 Warsong Gulch marks, and another 38,250, as well as 40 AB or AV marks if you want the weapons as well, totaling up to the original 103,000 total honor. So if you're planning to PvP at 70, you can stockpile that honor now. So for example, let's say you don't need to do any of this specifically for level 70 because you've already been playing your character. You got a high warlord already. Some of the cost going into TBC is the PvP trinket costs 8,000 honor. The Talisman of the Horde costs 22,950 honor and 10 Eye of the Storm marks, which is a battleground that comes in TBC, so you can grind those marks out when we're actually in the Burning Crusade. The back costs 11,794 honor as well as 20 AB marks. The PvP rings cost 15,300 honor and 10 AV marks. PvP necks cost 15,300 honor and 10 Eye of the Storm marks. And the PvP gems cost anywhere from 6,885 to 8,500 honor. Now, some of the honor pieces are on screen as well. The bracers, belt, boots, gloves, shoulders, legs, helmet, and chest are all available for you in the first phase. Weapons, however, if I remember correctly, weren't available in the very first phase of actual TBC. If someone could correct me on that, it would be much appreciated. But I remember basically right away going for the 1815 Gladiator stuff as far as weapons. But on alts later on, and I don't know again which phase it was, but later on I was able to pick up like one-handed and two-handed weapons as well as ranged weapons and shields. You can't stack all of your honor for every single piece, but you can stack 100 of each mark and 75,000 honor. As well as you can buy the rank 11 mounts. Instead of for gold, you can buy them for honor as well. Now, if you bought one of the 90 gold mounts, you have 150 riding skill, or you should have 150 riding skill going into TBC Prepatch. So therefore, you should just be able to buy them with marks instead of having to pay any gold. But if you decided on a new character not to grind it out, it is cheaper. The 150 riding skill costs 600 gold, which can be discounted by your faction's reputation at a maximum reputation of Exalted, which reduces its cost down to 480 gold. So its base cost would be 600 gold, and you get a 120 gold reputation discount. So how this works out is basically a slow ground mount. Your first mount can be bought at 30 in the Burning Crusade, and it will cost you 9 gold. The mount is typically called your slow mount because it only adds an extra 60% movement instead of the 100 that the fast ground mount adds. While it's the slow mount, it will still feel amazing when you're no longer walking. The riding skill to use the slow mount will cost 35 gold before any faction discounts and require level 30. The mount itself will cost an additional 9 gold again. Now, the fast ground mount can be purchased for 90 gold at level 60 in the Burning Crusade expansion, and this mount will give you the 100% movement speed and is a lot faster, obviously, compared to the 60%. The riding skill to use the fast mount will cost 600 gold before any of the reputation discounts, and the journeyman riding skill will require you to be 60. The bulk of the price will be going into the riding skill, but the mount itself will cost an additional 90 gold. So if you decided to grind out the 30 marks of each, you can then save yourself 90 gold by purchasing the 150 riding, the journeyman riding, and there is no more racial training for riding. So that means basically you can choose any mount besides a Tauren. I believe a Tauren is the only one that can't like ride specific mounts. Now, if you're wondering how much slow flying costs, expert riding will cost 800 gold, and then you will need to spend an additional 100 gold to buy the bird mount. Sounds like a pricey endeavor for a slow mount, but it's well worth it. The mount will allow you to farm the elemental plateaus, do additional daily quests, and the mount will also help you get to places quicker because you can fly over obstacles and go in a straight line. Also, it'll help you get your Kara attunement. You will need this flying mount, at least one of them, before you can even step foot into Kara. And again, we don't know if they're going to follow suit like they did with Fresh and give us an extension of like 1 to 2 weeks on the actual launch of TBC before the raids are open, or if On night 1, they are just bang out open. Now, if you're interested to know how much the fast flying mount is, let's hope you have 5,000 plus gold saved up, because it costs 5,000 gold for the artisan riding, and you must spend an additional 200 gold to buy the mount itself, the fast bird itself. Now, the fast flying mount gives you 280% movement speed, and that puppy soars through the skies. The mount is well worth the investment, and if you're a gatherer, and especially with all the problems with Terracone that we're probably about to face into, this investment alone will probably end up paying for itself within a weekend of farming. If you can gather up the gold for 5,200, I know it's not the easiest thing, but we did have all fresh to prepare for this, all anniversary. So hopefully you've got yourself set up and ready to go for these new mount costs. I know I got sidetracked with the mount skill, but there's something. We're going to bounce back to the trade skill of jewel crafting. Jewel crafting is brand new in the pre-patch, and you can pick it up in Exodar or Silvermoon. Leveling from 1 to 300 will probably cost anywhere from 500 to 1,000 gold depending on your server. Maybe even upwards to 2,000 gold if people start manipulating the market like they have done with Mongoose and other consumables. Now, there's a good chance you can also buy pre-made leveling kits, or already have been able to buy pre-made leveling kits from players around the world. So that way you can skip the grind. Keep an eye out for huge emeralds, blue sapphires, and Azerothian diamonds, because these are going to skyrocket in price once people start mass leveling jewel crafting. And don't forget, you can prospect ores now. So if you find cheap thorium ore, buy it. You might pull gems for cheaper than prices and be able to flip and make money off of it. So now that we've talked kind of about some of the basics, let's talk about some core mechanical changes that a lot of people forget about, specifically item stat conversions. Stats on gear are no longer percentages. They've been converted into rating. So for example, 1% melee hit was turned into 10 hit rating, and 1% spell hit was turned into 8 hit rating. So something like Neltharion's Tear gives 16 spell hit rating instead of 2%. Healing items also got spell power added on them. For example, Eye of the Dead from Sapphiron now gives plus 70 healing and plus 24 spell power, plus its normal bonus, and its on use changes from just 450 healing for the next 5 spells to 450 and 150 spell power for the next 5 spells. You'll see a lot of pieces of healing gear have a small amount of spell power coefficient added onto them, basically allowing for hybrid stats on gear even early as classic gear. And if you're a warrior that's actually been super unlucky with Goas, or just the loot council hates you, there's a new item in pre-patch technically that drops off of Sapphiron called the Fists of the Unrelenting. Now, in pre-patch, they make you immune to disarm, but obviously, since things change, these gloves change in TBC to 50% disarm reduction. They're extremely incredible for leveling, especially if you're going to be tanking, so you should keep an eye out for them if your guild still is clearing necks and you've been unlucky with gloves. Something else to talk about is the difference of how Crusader is. Until we get Mongoose, it is your best melee enchant, basically, for most all classes. It gets weaker the higher you level. It loses about 4% effectiveness per level above level 60, so at level 70, it only gives 60 strength and a much smaller heal. Even though the tooltip will still say 100, it's extremely decent early on, and again, it's going to be your best enchant most likely, but you'll eventually replace it with recipe Mongoose from the second boss in Karazhan. Now, there's something else that if you weren't lucky throughout all of Classic, you want to keep your eye out for in pre-patch maybe, and this is the Fetish of the Sand Reaper. Now, it's a 70% threat reduction in Classic when used, but it scales down as you get higher and higher. Again, just like Crusader. But at level 70, this threat reduction is still 50%. It's still great on warlocks and warriors who like to push DPS on trash without dying. And it's something you should really pay attention to if you wanted to get that min-max and that little bit of extra power out of your character and give yourself some security so that way you're not rebuffing crazily. You're not repopping scrolls like crazy. Another thing that goes in the pre-patch is weapon skill, but it gets replaced with expertise. Although it is not as strong as weapon skill, expertise is a necessary stat, which reduces the chance attacks are dodged or parried. So 1 point of expertise is roughly equal to about 2 to 3 attack power on most scales. It's good, but it doesn't fix glancing blows, so it's not as powerful, again, as the old weapon skill. This means items like Age Core level gloves aren't worth using really anymore, and Edge Masters, because Edge Masters turn into a pair of hit and expertise gloves. So I would stick to your strong P6 Nax gear and potentially Prebis items, although items like the Hungering Cold are still going to be fantastic because of their speed and their actual power and the fact that it is a KT weapon. Real quick, something else I forgot to mention, in TBC Prepatch and in TBC, Repeatables no longer give XP. The first turn-ins, as long as it is a yellow question mark, will and may give initial XP, but anything after that, and as soon as the question mark becomes blue, that will only be the quest rewards themselves, i.e. the rep, or the items that you gain from them. So don't forget, if you were going to level with ZG coins like I do so here, now is the time before pre-patch goes live to take advantage of this. Otherwise, all of those coins will be for nothing besides the honor tokens themselves. And you won't hit 60 off of them. Now, I know that was a lot of info, but hopefully this clears up like a bunch of stuff that's going to be changing with TBC and the TBC Prepatch. Remember, don't stress about min-maxing right now specifically. Just get familiar with your new class. Get familiar with your new class changes. Stockpile your honor, prep your professions, and have some fun before we all dive into Outland. If this helped you out, drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe for more TBC content and share it with your guild again. Try to get everyone else on the same page together, and hopefully you all go into TBC swinging like legends. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in Outlands. Take care.